incredibly petty claims court.
And now, another true case from Incredibly Petty Court.
Be seated. Petty Court is now in session. Today we hear a character defamation suit, Fisk versus Stanley. Mrs. Betty Fisk alleges that her neighbor, Mrs. Alberta Stanley, has repeatedly slandered her, causing irreparable character damage. Counsel, proceed.
Now, Mrs. Fisk, we know this has been quite an ordeal for you, but please tell the court in your own words what transpired at Sam's Market last Saturday.
Well, Mrs. Stanley said that if my nose was filled with nickels, I'd be a very rich woman, and there would be no need to haggle over the price of halibut like a fishwife. And then she made a facial gesture, like this.
Like this?
Yes, that's right, just like this.
If she had a nose full of nickels, she'd be a very rich woman.
Sure.
Mrs. Stanley, I now show you a large quantity of nickels. How many rolls of nickels would it take to fill up my client's nose?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
You're not sure. Well, how many? You made the statement. 20 rolls, 5 rolls, a half a roll?
2 rolls.
Fine, Mrs. Stanley. And how much money is contained in 2 rolls of nickels?
$4.
So even if my client had the requisite number of nickels up her nose, she could hardly be considered rich.
Although my client may have made a joking remark about Mrs. Fisk's face, Mrs. Stanley, you have the greatest respect and admiration for Mrs. Fisk, isn't that right?
Yes, that's correct. For her birthday, I gave her a subscription to Glamour magazine, and for Christmas, I gave her a very expensive dictionary.
Thank you, Mrs. Stanley, that's all. You're a witness.
Mrs. Stanley, I show you a copy of Glamour magazine. Isn't this magazine, in fact, from that gift subscription you gave my client?
Yes, it is.
Would you please read for us the mailing label on that magazine?
1672.
Yes, that is my client's address, but what's the name?
Mrs. Betty Fish.
I don't believe we can hear you, Mrs. Stanley.
Mrs. Betty Fish Face.
Any further questions? Mrs. Stanley, I show you now a child's crayon drawing. Could you tell me about it?
Yes, my son Bobby brought it home from school after he had torn it down from the bulletin board where it had been on public display, and it's signed by Mrs. Stanley's son, Jimmy.
Could you describe it for us, please?
Well, it's hideous. It's a stick figure drawing.
Let the record show that the drawing is a stick figure of a woman with a fish head, an arrow, and the words, "Yo mama."
Please state your name and occupation for the court.
Dale Phillips, and I'm a creative abstract consultant.
Of course. Isn't it true also that you are the first grade art teacher at PS 153?
Well, yeah, but that's only temporary.
I show you now Exhibit B. Would you say this is representative of your student Jimmy Stanley's work?
Yes, definitely. This is Jimmy's work. He's into his Cubist period here with the bold colors, blue-green being predominant.
Mm-hmm. And now, Exhibit C presented earlier by the plaintiff.
Well, despite the signature, this is not Jimmy's work. Jimmy would never use these pastel color schemes. This is clearly a forgery.
Order! One more outburst like that, and I'll clear this courtroom.
I now show you Exhibit D, a box of crayons secured from your son Bobby's desk at school. Did he ever have occasion to bring this box home?
Well, I don't remember.
Let me refresh your memory, Mrs. Fisk. If you examine this box carefully, you'll find there are 3 crayons missing. The very same 3 colors used to make that forgery. Goldenrod, burnt sienna, and salmon pink, Mrs. Fisk.
Those are common colors.
You're floundering, Mrs. Fisk,
Well, what are you
floundering.
suggesting?
You don't have a fin to stand on.
Objection! Your Honor, counsel is clearly baiting my client. He's on a fishing expedition.
All right, the witness is excused. Now, are there any further witnesses?
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
All right, I'll retire to my chambers to consider a verdict.
I didn't think they'd find the picture.
Don't worry about it, Mrs. Fisk. We have a very strong case here.
You think so, really?
Yes, you've suffered a lot, and I think damages will be substantial.
I have. Oh, thank you so much. You've been so kind.
Don't mention it.
Oh, thank you.
This has been Incredibly Petty Court.
When we come back, we're going to find out who